Jim.
So nice to see
Hello,
you.
my friend.
Look at that smile. You're always smiling.
How are you? How are you?
I'm well. It's so nice to see a friendly face. Wow,
Good to see you too.
it's been way too long.
It has been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, I need
Thank
to
you
get
for
back up
checking in
there.
at our park as well. We appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure. And looking through your pictures for posts to repost, it just reminds me how gorgeous it is up there.
I know. We sent you those pictures just to get a good
It's amazing.
curated view of Finger Lakes. We thought that was a good idea.
Are you guys having rain this morning?
We are. It's a little bit cloudy out here, but not too much. It's just a little.
Okay. So maybe later you can turn the camera around and just go point out a window and show the vineyards to people. Is that possible?
That's right. That's
And
right.
you're going to show us the winery too.
Actually, have Tace, our vineyard manager, is out testing some new equipment, so we might walk out and see him too.
Oh,
Let's see.
awesome. Okay.
See.
You know, my first question, how do you pronounce your last name?
Well, Bynke in Sweden. It's in Sweden. I'm from Sweden originally, so we say Bynke in Sweden.
There's always that at the end.
Yeah.
So let's just start by telling people who you are and what your job is, and then how you got into wine.
So I am then the co-owner of Hermann Wiemer Vineyard, and I here in the Finger Lakes, and I managed and run this winery together with my very good friend Fred Merworth, who's the winemaker here, and we were actually also friends from university.
Oh.
We both went to. I'm Sweden. I went to the University of Agriculture in Sweden, but I also did my master's here at Cornell. So we met at Cornell, Fred and I, and as you might know, Cornell is pretty good with both agriculture and hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
So I studied some wine there on the agriculture side, but more on the hospitality side of beverage management and so forth.
Okay.
And then Fred and I went our separate ways for a while. He became the winemaker here. He was Hermann's apprentice here in the early 2000s. And I went to New York City to sell wine and work with distributors. And then we joined forces here, Fred and I, again in 2007, when Hermann retired and he wanted to slow down, and we thought we should have a go at it, and we did. So
that's awesome. And when did you become partners to take over? You bought the winery, I assume, from Hermann?
Yeah, in 2007.
Okay.
So yeah, and so Hermann, he had a lot of girlfriends running around, but he never got married. And he had children, what he knows of. So when he wanted to retire, he actually wanted to really retire and not work so much. So Fred then, who was his apprentice, he was kind of the only one who knew how things worked here.
Mm-hmm.
None of us had money, but we convinced banks and Hermann to figure this out together.
Uh-huh.
And then we were in our early 30s and we took over then.
I mean,
so
it couldn't be in better hands. It couldn't be in better hands. So do you want to tell us the story, Hermann's story, and how the winery came about, and then kind of Finger Lakes in general?
Yeah, let's do that. So if you look at, let's do Finger Lakes in general here. So just so everyone knows where we are pretty far north. We're in New York, of course, but you're almost 5 hours drive away from New York, northwest. So you're getting up towards the Canadian border. So we have somewhat continental climate, inland climate, very, very cold winters, but also rather warm summers. So we're looking at similar climate that you might have in northern Italy, latitudes like northern Italy and part of Germany. But what happened is which is very specific about Finger Lakes, we have the lakes there that are extremely deep. So these lakes that we have, Seneca is over 600 feet deep, so that's 200 meters, and it can't freeze. So because it can't freeze, it will then moderate the climate around the lake and create very specific mesoclimates. So which reflects, and it's very similar to some other parts of the wine world, like Germany. So therefore comes in Hermann, who his family has a long grape growing history in Mosel, in Burgas. So he came here in the 60s and worked with some other wineries, but he also started to flirt with planting vinifera, because there's a long history here in New York with hybrid grapes or native grapes. So what happened was that if you look at these specific mesoclimates around the lake, where the lake can keep the vines warm in the winter and create a draft and an air drainage, it will be rather perfect for Riesling. So Hermann started to figure out, together with Dr. Frank, Charles Fournier, our other names, to see how can we have vines that survive. And because of his history in Werncastle, he had a little bit of leg up when it comes to this. So that's kind of how it started in the 70s. And then he tried to convince the world that we can grow Rieslings up here. And we've had our ups and downs. Now, 40 years later, with a little bit more viticulture experience, we think we have it down.
Yeah, really. I mean, the wines are just stunning. And you see this with Long Island too, that is, as a sommelier in New York, people didn't know so much about wine from New York, but that's really turning around, that people are really excited about the local wines of New York.
Yeah, I think also now when we're 40 years into it, I think we are, getting better at it. So we don't only have to hang our hat on being local.
Right.
There's good wines that happens to be local.
Yeah, exactly.
And that brings confidence to the sommeliers and restaurants to carry local wines.
Yeah.
And that has happened only the last 10 years, that 10, 15 years that everyone is really, it's been a huge change of wines by the glass and wine list in the city. It's very exciting.
Yeah,
very exciting.
It really is. It's lovely to be a part of that, and you do see it more. So you grow more than just Riesling, though.
We do. Going back a little bit of history, Hermann's family, his father was in charge of the agricultural experimental station in Werncastle. So, but he was in charge of grafting nursery, so graft vines. So when Hermann came here with an enormous amount of knowledge within the different varieties and graft and what rootstocks fits in different soils and so forth. So when Hermann started here, he really experimented with Pinot, with Chardonnay, all kinds of varieties, but then saw that Riesling had a fit. It fits perfectly. It survives the winter. If you look at Riesling, the reason why we have it is because the wood is a little thicker, so it survived the cold winter, and so does Cabernet Franc. So by then...
Can you expand a little bit on that? Because that was new to me, that the actual wood of a Riesling vine is different and survives colder temperatures.
Yeah. I'll get to it. Okay. Let me finish my...
Thank you. No, please, by all means.
So what happened is that, so you have these vines that survived on different places, right? So when we started to plant here 40 years ago, 50 years ago with vinifera, it was like throwing things against the wall and see what sticks, right? Okay. So we then planted Riesling. We knew the Riesling survived. But then, fast forward, you will see that, well, that site might have been, that's a little warmer site, a little more protected by the lake and so forth. You might try Chardonnay. You might see Pinot. So with now 40 years under our belt, we are getting a little bit more exploratory on what to plant, how to manage this, and so forth. So although it was Riesling then, and it's still the focus because of the consistent quality that you get, but you won't see only Hermann Wiemer. You will see many other vineyards in the Finger Lakes that are, let's do sparkling. Let's get Chardonnay in the ground and do sparkling. Cabernet Franc, also late budding and hardier wood. So you will see Wiemer today, mainly Riesling that you might see on wine lists in the city are Cuvée Brut and Vintage Blanc de Blanc, but also Cab Franc is coming up being kind of the red variety of the Finger Lakes too.
Yeah, I love it.
But they're lagging behind a little bit in production because the focus has been on Riesling. So you will see us showing up more and more with Cab Francs and sparkling wine. So, but still 60-70% of Hermann Wiemer has been Riesling focused. And not forgetting Gewürztraminer and so forth.
Right. But within just Riesling, there's many styles that you see up there too.
Yeah. Depending on the vintage, we can do 14, 15 different Rieslings. Which is, you know, you're capturing nuances from the cooler sites that has shale-driven soils and to riper site with deeper soils, and you have obviously different styles of Riesling within the site. So yeah, you can go pretty deep into different styles in the Riesling. But back to your interruption here. Back to your interruption. So if you look at Finger Lakes as a viticulture area, you will see, if you look at our challenges, our main challenge is the bitter cold winters.
Yeah. Being
then inland climate, we can have winters where we have 2 weeks of -20 C, minus whatever, -5, -6, and not, even though in dormant stage, vines don't like that. Okay. So you can get bud damage in the vine even if they're dormant in the winter, and you can also get damage at the union with a graft and so forth. Okay. So Riesling handles cold weather, and so does Cabernet Franc. Oh. Chardonnay also. So those vines are handling cool climates, cool temperatures. Also, the other aspect is that you want things to bud actually rather late. You don't want early budding. It might be contradictory that you want, even though we have a shorter season, we actually rely on wonderfully warm, long falls. Mm-hmm. But we do have the same scare as, you know, the Chablis and Burgundies, where we get that early frost. Right. So having early budding, it could be dangerous. Yeah. But then again, when we find these sites that are closer to the lake and you get a moderating effect, you start to gamble a little bit with some other varieties. Interesting. It's that's so fascinating. Yeah. Go ahead. The other challenge we have is obviously moisture, right? Mm-hmm. So moisture with disease pressure from moisture. So therefore we plant where there's slopes. We have, you know, a lot of cover crop to manage water. Air drainage is important, but also varieties that can handle botrytis. That can handle cluster. Botrytis? Botrytis, yeah. So loose clusters are important. So that's why Pinot, everyone wants to do Pinot and think there's some wineries here that does Pinot very well, mm-hmm. but we haven't really committed to Pinot as a region yet mm-hmm. because of our circumstances. But if we find the right sites, we can do some nice Pinot too, although that's a tight cluster. Yeah. Same thing with Gewürztraminer. It ripens and grows very well here. It's a little challenging with the clusters. So can you guys have that nursery, which is fairly unique also, right? That's right. So again, going back to Hermann being a nurseryman originally, he actually, so today we have a rather specialized and not the biggest of nurseries, but rather specialized. We do graft a couple hundred thousand vines a year, and we supply local wineries, Virginia, Northeast, Michigan, even California, with grafted vines. So so that keeps us rather busy in the winter, and now in the spring too. Yeah. So when most wineries will be all busy with spring work, we're tying and we're pruning, we also have a nursery. Yeah. So grafting a vine takes about, you know, you graft it and then we grow it and then we sell it next year. So it's almost 15-month cycle. Okay. From when we cut the budwood and the rootstock for us to So to sell it. So that's a big activity for us. And that screws us up a little bit now with the coronavirus, when we actually needed to step on the throttle March, April here to graft. So we had to hustle a little bit, but I think we got it organized at the moment.
So since we're talking about that, would you explain basically what well, first of all, how big is the nursery? How many acres or?
Well, you graft inside.
You do.
You know what? We could explore a little bit here. Let's say you want to go for a walk.
Yeah,
I think Fred is up in the nursery. He's grafting. We can go and check in with him.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
Okay. Why don't I see if this works? Do you hear me?
We can hear you. If you want, you can turn the camera around so it's maybe easier to see where you're going. And then.
Yeah. You know what? Let's. I'll put a snooze button on the grafting. I see Taste is coming here. Hold on 2 seconds.
Hi, Nicole. This is going to make you homesick.
Jeff, are you with me?
We're back now, yeah.
Huh?
We're back now, yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to, I told you how damn cold it gets up here.
Yeah.
So what happened is that we do hill up around the vines to protect them in the cold winter.
Okay.
So we do hill up. And now you're going to see in front of him, I'm going to turn the camera. Tace, our vineyard manager, is coming, and he's actually hilling down.
Oh, awesome.
So he's going to, it might be loud. We'll see, but let's see if this works. Awesome. I'm just going to show you what he does.
Oh, very cool. Oh.
Hey, Tace, we're filming you. So you see there, he's bringing down the mount.
Wow. Super cool.
Did you see that? Yeah, so
super cool.
What happened is that we use a plow. We use then a plow to hill up to protect the graft in the winter, and now we're hilling down. And also,
so you move the dirt up, and it covers the graft.
Covers the graft, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
that's so interesting.
You're now using a hill, and then you hill it down. Also, and I don't know if you know about, but we don't use herbicides. I've used herbicides here for 15 years. So hilling up and hilling down, and mechanical weeding is something that also keeps the weed away, right? So mechanical weeding. Cool. Let's see. I'm gonna go between two buildings and see if this works. I just got a thumbs up from Teresa here. That
I love getting a tour. You guys, if you haven't been to Finger Lakes, go, go, go. Stay in Geneva. It's awesome. And people are so nice. Clearly, you can see everybody's so nice up there. All right, we're back. We got you, yeah.
You with me?
Yeah, we're with you.
Okay. Fred, you're live with a whole bunch of people.
Great.
Okay, I'm going to turn the camera around, Jeff.
Awesome.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
So, Fred, this is Fred. If you don't recognize me because he has a mask on.
That's lovely.
So, Fred, what are you doing here?
We are grafting new plants for 2021, working on Cabernet Franc and Riparia rootstock, and we are perfectly isolated and within our own safe spaces of doing this. Yeah, so we're taking budwood here on the right, combining it with the Riparia on the left through grafting, and I guess I'll just...
Do you want to do a little test graft for us, just so we saw what an omega cut is?
So the bud comes up into the machine. The pieces are then, the bottom piece of the bud is thrown away. That's what the hole in the table's for. And then we put the rootstock in, and clamp down again. So if Oskar was a good videographer here, he would be able to capture this. But then the bud stays into the machine, and the machine displaces the piece of the rootstock. And you can see how it's like a puzzle piece.
That is cool.
So then the puzzle piece, you have it's a omega cut graft. So you have a male end on the budwood, and you have the female end on the rootstock. And by grafting with this piece of equipment, you displace the pieces and you form the graft union.
Wow.
So they just slide together like a puzzle piece. So what we are trying to do, there's quality of grafting, making sure that you're making the right connection, that your bud is always opposite your top bud on the rootstock.
Wow.
But then there's also a speed element to it of trying to get 600 to 700 plants or 800 plants an hour to make this viable, if you will, from a business standpoint. So I can do a couple.
Yeah, show off here, Fred. See how it is. So then, thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Fred.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Good to see everybody, or be seen, however it is.
Be seen. That's it.
Oskar, that was
All right,
awesome.
I'm going to go back to the winery here, okay?
Awesome. Okay.
Let's see. Hopefully I don't lose you again.
That was such a treat. You never see that.
Yeah. No, I know. So what happened is, obviously, most vines around the world now are being grafted.
Mm-hmm.
And help them depending on what soils they have. If they want to have.
I lost you for a second there, Oskar. If you could
Okay,
back
let's
up.
see. I'm going to go into.
Okay.
We're coming. How am I back?
You're back now, yeah.
Oh, great. So what I was saying is that the nursery and grafting is becoming its own little complex world.
Yeah.
Because the more knowledgeable we get about vines and grape growing, the more specific are we with a selection of rootstocks and clones and so on.
Wow.
So it's quite interesting. So today we do a lot of field grafting, field selection, I should say. So if, for example, if a winery in Virginia has 2 acres and they have 10 strong vines that are performing very well every year, they will take cuttings from those vines, send it to us, we will virus test, and then we will graft on the rootstock they would like to have, depending on if it's sandy soils or clay soils or so forth. And then we will grow them here for a year and a half, and then send them back to that winery. So their mother plants are the same as their strongest plants in the field. So we do a lot of those tailor grafting.
Amazing.
So, yeah. So
crazy.
and also
Wow.
what we also have here is some experimental plots. You asked what we grow. We had last year we planted Scapatino, Petit Arvin, and even Nebbiolo, just to see what, with global warming and climate change, we need to stay on top of that too, to see what might be the future for Finger Lakes.
Yeah.
So we are working with some other institutions around the world to get mountain varieties and then we're testing in the Finger Lakes here too. So,
Wow.
so it's all kinds of things here. So the nursery is really a core where we gather a lot of knowledge and know-how and understand then our land. So it's pretty neat.
Do the Cornell students come out and visit? I would assume they would be foolish not to.
That's right. They would, wouldn't they? They do. You know what? If you look back in time, Hermann wasn't really fond of the Cornell because he and Dr. Frank, they were by themselves, and they would try to convince the world that we can grow vinifera in the Finger Lakes. We don't only have to grow hybrids and natives. So while Cornell then tried to figure out how to help the hybrid and native varieties better, and they kind of felt, well, Riesling is not gonna survive. So he didn't get a lot of help. He actually got a lot of resistance from Cornell. However, now the younger generation of professors and so forth are very much helpful. We've done a lot they help us with tests in the vineyards. We did research about our yeast a couple of years ago and so forth. So they're very helpful. And that's on the agriculture side. And on the hospitality side, they come and work here in the summers and get to do practical experience too. Yeah. So we work very closely with Cornell.
Awesome.
Very closely.
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but somebody just asked that grafting machine. How old is that?
They actually, funnily enough, it could be 30 years old. It could be 2 years old. They look the same. It's
because it's kind of cool to see the mechanics. But
the one he has there is probably 25 to 30 years.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what is happening in the vineyards right now? Have you had bud break?
No, we haven't yet, but it's very close. I listened a little bit to Kareem yesterday. You talked to him. Little similar situation. A couple of months ago, it was pretty warm this winter and warm spring. And so the soils were warming up, and that's what you worry about also. And we were thinking that we would have bud break here April 10 to April 15. But then we've had some cold weather, and it kind of slows things down, which is kind of what we want. So
okay, that's good. And then I want to ask what you guys, because I'm trying to keep these at a half an hour, so we won't go too much longer. I won't take up your time. But
that's okay.
How has the corona affected you guys? You said a little bit about that in the nursery, but the quarantine and the shutdown, and then also you guys have a good retail presence, but you still sell to a lot of stores. Are you ramping up the website? Long question.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, we have obviously similar problems or challenges that the other wineries have had. If you look at us as a wineries, being one of the more established wineries although we're a young winery, we have a following, we have distribution around the country. We're in over 30 states. We have wine clubs, and we ship online and so forth. That has kept us going a little bit. Although a bulk of our business is New York City and restaurants. We as a winery we have a lot of strong relationship with people like you and many other sommeliers that has been our friends for many, many years. And being so close to New York City, we have a lot of somms and beverage managers and restaurateurs that knows us because they've been here. So we're a strong bond between the on and off premise in New York City and the winery.
Right.
And that now when New York is completely shutting down, that obviously hurts a little bit business-wise. But we're keeping going anyway. So we're okay. We're okay.
That's
we can't wait to get going. And I talked to our distributor, Hermann, Michael Skurnik. We're setting up some programs to get on-premise going and see what we can assist with there. So
good. Well, hopefully there'll be a big party when we can go back to work, and we'll include your wines. So I'm going to try to find out from Skurnik some retail places, and I'll post that. But all that information, they can find out. Can they buy wine from your website?
Yeah, of course.
And then retail stores, it's not hard to find your wine, especially in the city or online, but your website's on your profile.
The stores have usually maybe our dry Riesling or off-dry Riesling, so forth. That's there. Or
and I also try to remind people that it's, you guys are in the same place we are, that it's you're a small business and you're also local. So I encourage people to support small family-owned wineries and small businesses in New York. It's like important to drink local.
Good thinking. Yeah, we appreciate that, of course. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No.
I was just going to say thank you. Unless you want to say something else, and please do.
No, I think that's it. If you don't have more questions, I have time. If you have more questions coming my way, I could take it. But otherwise, we're good. I just, again, appreciate that you're checking in with us.
Oh, yeah.
Part of the world.
It's our pleasure. I started this project because so many of my Psalm friends in the city have to stay inside. And so we're getting to travel a little bit and see some friendly faces.
It is great. So good on you for keeping the community together. We appreciate that.
That's very kind. So there was a question someone asked, besides at the winery, where can they find the reserve Chardonnay? Is that hard to find?
Yes. That's not distributed.
So maybe
we can post that ourselves.
Yeah, okay. So maybe they DM you or beg.
We have a little bit here. We have a little bit here. Yeah.
And I think you might have known Nicole Muscari. She's Grape Chic on here. She's
of course I do, Nicole.
We're making her very homesick today.
Great. Yeah, of course, Nicole. She has the best. She matches her shoes and the background of Provence with the labels in like no one else does.
She's unbelievable. Yeah, I'm so happy. That's one of those friends I've made over Instagram, which is, I got to say, people don't like social media at times, but I've made so many friends.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I want to thank you so much for making the wine, first of all, but for taking the time to show us around. And what a treat to go and see the nursery.
That's cool. That's great, my friend.
All right.
Well, keep in touch.
Be well, man.
We'll see each other soon.
We'll see each other very soon. Okay, take care. It's been fun talking to you.
Bye. Bye.